Willkommen im Circular Valley. Das ist der Podcast für mehr Circular Economy in Deutschland und auf der Welt. Begleite uns auf unserer spannenden Reise durch die Kreislaufwirtschaft. So we have a novelty in this podcast. So far we've only had episodes in German language and right now we're switching to English. There's a special reason for that because the next guest I could get into this booth here at Circular Valley Convention is Professor Gavin Bunting from Swansea University in Wales. Mm-hmm. And he's attending this convention right now. And I would like to ask you, how is the cooperation with Circular Valley and how did you get here? What's the reason for your visit?
Okay. So I came via Brussels. So I had some meetings in Brussels beforehand, which was really good. And in terms of some officials there and attended an event there looking at the kind of the policy perspective. And then I met Carsten at the Circular Economy Hotspot in Wales. Back in the autumn, and we were talking about the kind of potential for Wales and Circular Valley to kind of work together on the area of circular economy. I think there are a lot of good opportunities there. Carsten was mentioning earlier about this region being the kind of heart of the Industrial Revolution. Wales is very similar from that kind of point of view. You know, there was a lot of, really kind of the UK, really the kind of heart of Industrial Revolution. It really wants to be the forefront of the kind of the next kind of circular and green revolution. So it's so we've got a lot of similarity there.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of opportunity to work together. And this is one of the reasons for coming along to the convention over the next couple of days is to hear about the work that's happening in the region here and to look at kind of both the businesses and the research institutions and think about are there opportunities to collaborate together and kind of add more value by kind of working together rather than kind of being separate. So there's some great opportunities to explore, both from the kind of the research point of view, as working in a university and kind of working on circular economy research. I think there's some good opportunities there, especially with things like Horizon funding. Mm-hmm. And also a lot of the work that I do within Wales is also about supporting businesses and especially SMEs.
Okay, yeah.
And so again, I think I went to a talk earlier about looking at how the NRW region works with SMEs. So I think there's some learning across both Wales and this region in terms of how we support SMEs and that side of things. So what we do within Wales is very much support for SMEs, helping them. They've got ideas for kind of circular economy. We help kind of de-risk that process, de-risk that kind of commercialization process. And it's very bespoke to each particular company that we work with. And it works really well. We've seen increased investment, increased jobs, new products and services going to market. And we work with a wide range of businesses. So I think there's an opportunity there, in terms of sharing our learning and also maybe some of the businesses from Wales want to maybe expand into Europe, into Germany, and vice versa.
Yeah,
companies from Germany into Wales. So I think there's opportunities there.
Great. So you have already built your network besides Carsten, or you're just starting right now?
That's what the next couple of days are about, really. Yeah. Yes. So it's about kind of building the network, and I think this is the kind of the start really of doing that. And there seems to be some great, listening to the presentations and the panel sessions, some really good examples here, and so I think it's kind of building on that.
That sounds very nice. Great. If you compare Wales to Germany, how would you rank both countries in terms of circularity? Okay.
That's a difficult one to. I think that both countries are facing similar challenges in terms of there's a lot of good ideas, there's lots of good examples out there. But what we really need to focus on now is the kind of the scaling up. And I think that was mentioned at one of the panel sessions earlier. Is actually it's getting to that next stage now. We know kind of what we need to do. It's more about, how do we make it kind of business as usual? How do we move from the linear economy to the circular economy? One, help companies de-risk that process. And also, how do we kind of build in kind of competition? How do we build in kind of consumer demand for the kind of circular products and that type of thing? So, I think both countries are facing a kind of a similar challenge there. So I think that's why we can kind of learn from each other and kind of collaborate in addressing that. I mentioned earlier about I think one of the challenges is that kind of consumer demand and side of things, and that's another thing that we kind of work on within my team. So we work on kind of technical aspects, but also the kind of behaviour change side of things as well, and making it kind of easy for consumers to take that kind of circular approach.
Yeah.
So
that is very interesting. What kind of impact do you think you can have on consumer demand to make it more circular?
One, it's making them kind of want the circular goods at the moment. I think people often, if you ask them, they're like, we really want a product that we can repair and can upgrade and all that type of thing. It lasts a long time. But then when they get to the kind of point of sale, it's the one that looks nice as I'll go for that shiny phone that looks great, and it's rather than the one that I can repair. So it's how do you kind of work with kind of big business really to actually kind of help them generate the demand for those kind of products and kind of building awareness of what those products are like, and things such as which some countries are already trialing within Europe is the kind of labelling of products in terms of how easy it is to repair and refurbish, which I think again that kind of works in terms of energy efficiency of appliances. So with kind of the A to G ratings and things on electrical appliances. One of the reasons why that worked, though, was not that consumers were opting for the most energy efficient appliance. They felt that an A-rated appliance was actually the best appliance. Yes. Yeah. So they wanted the best one. I'll go for the A. It must be the best one. So it's so again, it's looking at that kind of behaviour change, which is, I think, really, really interesting. One of the areas that Wales does, looking at the comparison with Germany, one of the areas that Wales does very well on is recycling in terms. So it's second in the world for recycling. Yeah. And I think Austria is number one. Number one. Okay.
And do you know where Germany is?
I'm not quite sure, actually. Okay. While we've done that, there's been a real focus from the Welsh government in terms of setting kind of stringent targets and putting investment in to increase kind of recycling. Yeah. And, that's why Wales is doing kind of so well in that area. The move now is more, we're doing well on recycling. How do we now encourage consumers to reuse? Rather than just go to recycling. As we know, recycling is on the kind of is lower down on the kind of waste hierarchy, whereas actually you want consumers to keep the product for as long as possible, reuse things. So that's our next stage.
Does make sense. Yeah, I think there are two words or sentences coming to my mind. One is design for recycling, which is a good idea on the one hand, because if it is designed to be recycled, then there's the chance to recycle it. On the other hand, design should start earlier and improve the durability of a product, for example. And I had one guest, to be honest, I do not know who it was because I had a lot of guests today, but this person said design itself, not design for recycling, design itself is sustainable. And I had to think about it, but taking into consideration what you just said, it does make sense, because if people buy the nicest product and you design the nicest product, which is nice for the eye, but also nice for the environment, for example, it has the best chance to succeed finally in the market and at the POS. So at first I thought, okay, design, is it sustainable? I didn't know about it, but now taking into consideration how people decide when buying stuff, it makes sense to think of nice products which are sustainable or can be used circularly instead of just building them to be recycled.
Yes, yeah. So, 80% of the product's kind of life is determined at that design stage. So it's encouraging kind of manufacturers to think about, because a lot often they're designing their product for the kind of in-use stage. So what are you designing it for its kind of second life? Are you designing it for, refurbishment, repair, that side of things? I know there was a good example in one of the, which I've used in my own lectures, from Caterpillar, in terms of their engines are designed so that it can be remanufactured and refurbished. So it's about kind of going back and thinking, okay, so the consumer's going to use this for so many years, whatever. What happens when they've kind of finished with it? What are we going to do next? What happens in the second, third, fourth life even of this product? And making sure that that's kind of designed in up front, so that because too often with products, it's say with printers, a printer breaks, take it to a repair shop,
No.
Oh, it's going to be cheaper to buy a new printer than repair this one. So, but why? That's where bad quality creates, waste effectively.
Yeah.
And then also innovation as well. So you have mobile phones, say, and the old mobile phone works perfectly well, but a new mobile phone comes along. It's got better functionality. They're very good at selling you that one. You're like, oh well, I think I need that new mobile phone. So, but so that's where kind of fast innovation also creates waste as well.
Yeah.
So whereas actually you could design that mobile phone or the printer so that it could be repaired, so that it could be upgraded.
Yeah, I think upgrading, that's very important.
Yeah, exactly. So the consumer can have the new functionality.
Yeah, but with the same product.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So a good example is Fairphone. They do a modular phone where you can change the camera, the battery, the screen, etc. So.
Yeah, you're right, and you can also, if there's a newer camera, for example, you can build it in as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Not only replacement, it's also this upgrading function.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
You just talked about Wales getting some governmental impact on recycling. How did they do this? Is this via restrictions, or did they had any regulations, or is it by incentivating companies to improve in that area?
So for municipal recycling, so recycling from kind of households, so the local authorities, so in Wales it was split into, I can't remember how many local authorities, and so each local authority is responsible for household kind of waste collection. So the Welsh Government set targets for all those local authorities to meet, and then kind of supplemented that by kind of helping kind of with investment and things like that into kind of recycling infrastructure.
Okay, so they set goals and not told them to do this and that. They just said you need to recycle 80% of anything you get, and then it was
different targets for different materials. And,
it was just a little easy, I know, but to make it comprehensive for me.
Yes, I mean, one thing that Wales does have, which what was kind of unique, and what other countries have kind of followed suit, we've got the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act. So the Welsh Government and all public bodies in Wales have a duty to promote sustainable development and think about the next generations. That's one of the things that's built into policy making, and also both at the government level and also the kind of local level, in terms of we have to be thinking about not just the immediate situation, but also how it affects kind of future generations, how we're impacting the environment, thinking about the kind of long term and things like that. So that act, which the UN has actually recently kind of they're looking at implementing a kind of a similar kind of program, and they kind of quoted Wales as the kind of the forerunner in terms of of having the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act. So that act provides a lot of space for kind of public bodies to actually say, right, no, actually we need to be focusing on things such as recycling or circular economy and things like that, and prioritising investment for the long term rather than just the short term.
Great. Earlier you mentioned that you support SMEs and even larger businesses. Would you let us know what kinds of support you provide for different types of businesses?
So we have a program which is which I have a team within Swansea University, which works with businesses across Southwest Wales. And as I said before, we deliver very kind of bespoke support. So we go into businesses and help them kind of think about kind of what are the circular economy opportunities for them, and what support we can provide to help them kind of take those opportunities forwards. And it varies in terms of what support we provide. So it can be kind of very almost basic in terms of, so we worked with a refill shop where you take in a kind of an old bottle and get it refilled with olive oil or shampoo or whatever. And we help them kind of redesign their shop because consumers are getting a bit confused about how to kind of do things within their shop. So we help them redesign that. So that's a kind of more basic one. Then on the more technical side, we've helped a company with their kind of battery recycling kind of process and connected them with our battery expertise within the university to help them develop kind of processes to actually not just recycle batteries, but actually reusing some of the batteries that they're bringing in for recycling. We've helped with kind of redesign of photovoltaic panels, so that those can be more easily kind of repaired, and panels are being used on container ships to provide power for container ships when they're in port. So we've also then worked on kind of behaviours change side of things. There's a company that we work with, they provide waste management for festivals, so music festivals.
Yeah.
And they do, so your statues that are outside here.
From
so they,
Herzlich.
they produce, they've got a machine which they take to festivals, which compact, say, kind of cans and things like that.
Yeah.
So effectively, a wheelie bin kind of size full of kind of cans would be compacted into a beer crate type size.
Okay.
So that reduces kind of transport of the waste, and also it means it's a higher kind of value recycle it. So we help them. What they need though is for the people at the festival to be put in the right things in the right bins.
Yeah.
So we helped with the messaging
in
terms of helping the festival goers put the right things in the right bin. We trialed different approaches, so that kind of behaviour change type thing. And interestingly, I think our most impactful message was we tried things such as restricting the kind of the hole in the bin so that you could only put the right product in and things like that. Mm-hmm. The most important thing was actually giving little kind of messages to consumers like, oh, if you recycle the can in the right place, it will power a disco ball for 40 seconds or something. So it was giving them a little message.
Yeah.
Make the person stop, read it, think, oh, I better put this in the right place.
Okay.
And then we,
interesting.
So we helped increase recycling rates. I think it was by about 46% at the festival. So it's a real kind of impact there. And what those are useful for is that learning, because festivals are quite sort of contained communities. So you can kind of trial approaches there, which you can then start using out in kind of the real world.
Yeah.
We work with them. We also work on kind of industrial symbiosis. So we connected, say, there's a manufacturer of kind of, call them high posh cakes. So very kind of high level,
cakes,
high quality cakes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And they provide them to big businesses, to royal functions, all sorts. So, and they have this wastewater because they cut their cakes using water jet. So the manufacturing process. And they had this wastewater. We had another company we were working with who have developed this process for extracting kind of nitrogen dioxide type emissions from wastewater. Okay. And so but they needed a wastewater to grow effectively their medium on, in terms of what they use to remove the pollution from water. And so we connected to, so the wastewater from the cake manufacturer became the raw material for the company that's removing kind of pollution from water, was using to grow their medium on.
Okay.
And so that kind of industrial symbiosis where waste from one area becomes a kind of a feedstock or a raw material for another. So again, it's another example of one of the things that we do.
Very interesting case, because wastewater from a cake store is really nothing I would have ever thought of. It could be a raw material for someone else.
Yeah, high in sugar. And that's what he needed.
Yeah.
So to effectively kind of grow bacteria and things like that.
Yeah, it does make sense, but you have to think about 1 or 3 corners. I don't know which is the English expression. In Germany we say die Ecke denken. Out of the box, it would be probably.
Yeah, thinking around the corner, and yeah.
Very nice examples. Thank you very much.
No, okay.
This was our first episode in English language of the Circular Valley podcast, featuring Professor Gavin Bunting from Swansea University. This episode was recorded at the Circular Valley Convention in Meerbusch near Düsseldorf within a framery cabin. And I think it was quite interesting to get to know about the differences and similarities between Wales and German economy. I think Professor Bunting had some very nice and clear examples of what he does and how circular economy can actually work. And so I hope for you this was also a very interesting episode of this podcast. If you liked this episode and if you like this podcast, then we would appreciate very much if you shared this episode, if you left some feedback, some stars, some positive ratings for the podcast and for this episode. And if you want to learn more about Swansea University and Professor Gavin Bunting, you will find some links within the show notes, as well as links to get to know more about Circular Valley. You can visit us at circular-valley.org, or you can find us in almost any social network you can imagine, such as Facebook, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We would very much appreciate if you followed this podcast in your favorite podcast app and if you followed Circular Valley in social media. Please share our content so we can extend the impact we have on circular economy and to improve the impact circular economy can have for our planet. Let us close this circle. Goodbye for now, and until next time, when it is time for Willkommen im Circular Valley.